so there was a gaping hole in the bedroom, which was pretty grim. Anyway, toughens you up apparently. That's massive. I've been to be 4 inches deep. So you can go.
So good to have you in my life.
Okay, I'm very pleased about that. Thank you, darling. 24th of February, all my great plans all fell apart this morning. So it's rained, quite a lot of rain. It dried up quite a lot over the weekend, and so we thought actually start thinking about getting the drills ready to start putting peas in. Supposed to be liquid fertilising this morning. We've actually got the guys are there with the tankers already, 2 lorries on tankers with 3 tankers. They've gone to Yarmouth to go and fill up, and then they're going to go and refill some of the stock tanks we have while it's wet. So it means that effectively Glyn, who's back at work today, and also Kieran haven't been able to go fertilising, so that sort of really scuppered our plans. This is the problem with farming in the weather, is that all your best plans have a habit of being changed without any real notice. So it's quite a cold, drizzly day. It is spitting with rain now. It's quite wet underfoot. That will have knocked us back 2 or 3 days from fertilising now. So now we've got to find other jobs to do. This is where the inefficiencies and the cost of farming comes in, where we can't control the environment we work in. So the farm, if you look here, Tom, if you swing your camera around, the farm is the other side of this fence, and the workshop and the lorry wash is there, just to put us a bit of a perspective where we are. That shed there is the mustard shed, and then we've got the canteen room. And then behind, directly where the way I'm looking, is where my father's house is, where Chris just did the extension and made that much nicer for him. That's there. And we are now stood in the Owen Centre car park. Now, when I first came back to the farm in 1999, that was 2 houses, and I lived in one side. I used to live in a caravan around the corner here, all the way through college and on. It was pretty ghastly mobile home actually. When they unloaded it off the trailer, they managed to put a chain on the frame and pull the back of the frame away from the floor, so there was a gaping hole in the bedroom, which was pretty grim. Anyway, toughens you up apparently. So this here was, if we look round, this to the right, this big building, this was the farm workshop, and that end wall there, that was where big sliding doors and a roller door was in there as well. Then the lean-to down the side, that was the spray store, so you used to back up there and fill up with chemical on the spray store where that door is. And then inside there, big shed actually, lovely big beams inside. That was the workshop, and then the other lean-to on the opposite side would have been the tools, and in the sense of spare parts and things. And then there was a big upstairs at one end. So that's where, when I first came back here, that was the farm workshop, and had been, I think, from about the probably the 70s. This was what they referred to as the old fertiliser shed. So in about 2001, my father decided to convert these buildings into offices, and it's been a tremendous success, and is actually what partly was paying for him to take his interest out of the farm when the opportunity came for me to contract farm. And he wanted the money that was wrapped up in farming to create these conversions. So that's when I started P.X Farms in 2003. And they took all the machinery and all the various costs out, so that then they could use it to convert this. So one of them's just come empty for the first time in 15 years. And I wanted to just take you inside this one and just have a look round so you can see what a sort of conversion of a building. So the doorway used to be in there, and then that's where they would have stored the bagged fertiliser as it was years ago. The wall here, if it looks like a new wall, they used to have a big fertiliser tank when I suppose this must have happened in the late 90s. Anyway, I know that I was on holiday with my father, it might have been mid-90s thinking about it, and the leg snapped on it, and the big 50-ton tank hit the floor, hit the pipe on the bottom, rolled into that building, hence why it has a new wall. And then the fertiliser of 50 tons ended up down the brook, which was not ideal, ended up in the nearby town and killed the fish. So we had to move that tank, obviously, rebuild the wall, and then we had to we had to buy this tank, and we used to go up and down, and we had all the ditch bunded with these sort of absorbent granules, and they were pumping out the water and the fertiliser out of the brook And that went on, somebody must have done that for about a month, 6 weeks, to make sure that no fertiliser in great quantities made it down, just the trace element that did get down there and killed the fish. But anyway, that's why we have the tanks elsewhere now, and you know, to try and avoid those small problems. So I'll take you in this shed now and show you principally what these offices look like and who's in them and who's renting them. We've got Vics in here, we've got people doing for cancer research, we've got in this end one here, they do baby scans. And actually Alexandra and I went there for Natasha. So we went in there, and that's a really nice little thing. We've got my, Tom, if you can come this way. The far end there, that's the farm. All that building wrapping around the top and then to the round is actually the farm offices. And then that's my office, which I can see directly there, which then I can walk across to my house and then quick access out into the farm. So that works well. And I'll show you there's a second part to the offices. I've got planning permission to build across here, all the way across this side of the car park. So this car park will go, this will become another courtyard, and I've built a brand new car park, which I'll show you. So FFE, who effectively make a lot of safety systems, in particular in fire, they have this block in here. And during my childhood and early career, this was where we would have perhaps backed in sprayers. They were open fronted, father opened them up. Before that, that was the maintenance workshop, and then before that it was where the pig farrowing crates and things were. They're all inside, and then we'll go to the other side where the cattle were. So yeah, I get to look out on this. This obviously works well because it brings an income in, and it's part of our version of diversifying. So utilising buildings which aren't suitable. You wouldn't get a big G's Challenger in these, for example. For us, they've got no use in modern day agriculture, only to create conversion to bring alternative income in, which, you know, there'd be, within all of this, you've probably got about 80 people employed. So that's quite impressive to think that there's new life being brought onto farms through alternative businesses. So these buildings here, these were again open fronted, and then they were closed up, and this is where the cattle would have been, in this lower yard, and they would have gone in and out of these buildings, and there wouldn't have been a doorway there. They actually went up where my house is, and then they came up a track, or they went that way back to the pond, and I'll show you the pond in a minute, which has got all of the what was the pump house that used to feed all of these buildings with water. So there was no mains here, so all the water was pumped out of a spring-fed pond, which then went to header tanks, and then the header tanks went out to the field troughs and then went out to all these buildings. So these buildings had great big steel troughs in the roofs as well, which were feeding all the troughs, because predominantly this business was a livestock business, which then had arable land to support the feeding of the livestock. So its main income was actually through the livestock enterprise. So we've got sort of tailor stays here, for example. They do like very smart B&B type rentals, where people rent those, and then their offices and things are here. And then this is the ultrasound business. I'll take you into number 5, which has just come empty. So we're just coming to the first part. So this is where they typically have their reception. They've got their sink and then got their IT cabinets in here. This was actually something the previous tenants put in, which can actually come out, but or it can be used as a good stock home. So just got the painter coming, so he's just filling in all the holes. He's doing a refurb and a repaint everywhere, make it nice. So this is coming now into the fertiliser shed. I probably ought not call it that, but you can see the nice beams. So all these buildings have got these really nice beams up in the roofs. So this was a difficult one, my father said, to convert in 2001, because it had these beams either side. So they created an office above each one with independent stairs which go up, and then they've got this big open plan floor in here where the desks can go. And they're all on air source heat pumps, so the heating is done by, you can have aircon in the summer, then you can reverse flow it, and then you have the heating during the winter, so that works well. The whole site's like that, actually. They're all on air source heat pumps, and have been since 2001. So what's that, 24 years we've been on that system, which works well. And then, yes, it's a nice room. And then come and have a look upstairs as an example. Yes, these are the offices upstairs. It can be used like a boardroom or used like individual offices. I love looking at the beams, thinking of the history of the buildings, just in terms of age. The top road was built in 1907. We think the buildings down here were built about 1860 to 1890, somewhere in that region. So they're quite old buildings, but not nice detail. Now, my house is like this. Got timbers like this. So the building there, which Vics have, allegedly they're second-hand timbers that came out of wooden ships. So you can see where they have different holes and things in them at different places. But there was a time when they used to, wood would be chopped down on farms to support ships being built, and of course then when the ships have finished their service, the wood could be reused. So that's what the roof is made out of in that office. But it's nice. It's quite a big area. So this is the car park which I've built in advance. So it's sort of chicken and egg. So we've got effectively 90 spaces in here, and when we go to build the extension on there, because I've got the planning permission, it's just I'm doing the car park means it's locked in, but it's all about where you prioritise your income and money. And of course we had the COVID, and when COVID came it sort of changed the dynamics of offices in what people were working from home and etc. And maybe that's starting to change now. There's more interest, but so we'll look at doing that project at some point. But that's effectively reusing what would have been redundant buildings, and it sits quite nicely. It has its own private drive which goes back out onto the main road, and so it doesn't have any connection to do with farming. It doesn't trip up farming at all either. We separated the two off, so works well. When we first built it in 2001, I remember we had the grain dryers originally where the mustard shed is. There was sort of 4 or 5 different sheds. There was a combination of old Almet dryers, and the chaff would be blowing over the wall and landing on the other side like snow and making this roaring noise because they were silenced. And I remember the tenants at that time came to see Father. They didn't understand why each morning they kept coming back and there was this enormous piles of chaff out the front of their door. So in the end we had to move the we had to move the grain stores, and that's actually how the new grain store Aberdeen got built in the new setup, because we realised to be able to expand and keep the offices we had to move the farming further away. So that's how we ended up with the new shed back there in 2007 when we started it for 2008 and moved all the dryers and everything much further away, which has worked well. So if anybody's actually looking for an office 3 miles outside Cambridge, we've got that office 5, and just get hold of Simon at lettings@pxfarms.com and give him a call. He'll come and show you around and talk it through with you. These have come nice. These were planted by Roger Pinner about, I suppose, 3 years ago now. So these are doing really nicely. Just trying to separate, because I brought the pond back into my garden part of the house as it was in my childhood with my grandfather. And this was the old drive that used to come through before I put the one in coming round and up. And that's the pump house over there, which was built in, as I said, about 1860, something like that. And that's where the water was pumped out of this pond and then was sent up to buildings at the top and all these various other places so that they fed the cattle troughs. So it's a much better use of facility. This is office 1. It's a really nice little office tucked in the back here. And then here I actually got planning permission in this area here to build a cafe with a floor that would go out over the pond, like a glass floor. So you see it's called the Irwin Centre. Irwin was my grandfather's name. He was Dr. Irwin Peck. So my father named it after him, because unfortunately he passed away in 95. He was an extraordinary man, extraordinary chap, really lovely man. So that's why we call it the Irwin Centre, as a tribute to him. This is the entrance to the Irwin Centre, which is the farm is directly over there, back towards the roundabout. This the row of cottages where some of the guys live, and that's the roundabout, which then turns left 3 miles to Cambridge. So pretty good destination. Then this is the drive down here, which goes back to the car park for the Owen Centre. And then down there on the left is where they're proposing to put the park and ride. So proximity to Cambridge is really good, and that's why we took advantage of creating offices. And if you look round, this is what my father did in 1983, first let in 1985, which was the what were the pig and cattle buildings and the dairy buildings. He converted them into light industrial units, which the ski exchange is in, which I've bought myself a bit of ski boots this last year for the first time. I actually had ski boots and I skied without pain, which was tremendous investment. So with diversification for us is as important as growing a crop. It is a mechanism as much as the opportunity to be able to buy other family members out of the interest out of the farm, to enable the one who wants to farm to continue to be able to farm. So for us it's really important for us to be able to do this type of development so that we can find solutions to look after all the members of the family. Little businesses here, great place for businesses to start up and get going. As I said, some of them have been here a long time now. What's that, 40 years. So yeah, when Father built this, it was the first out of town development in the country, and my father and grandfather went to the bank to borrow 2.5 times the value of the farm to do this development on what would have been a sort of an unknown venture. And my grandfather, it worried him to death about borrowing that amount of money, and the poor chap had about 2 or 3 heart attacks. So I think it did unsettle him, but actually, as it's turned out, it's been a tremendous success, and it's helped move assets around for family members as well. So it was a good thing Father did, and he's been a great pioneer in doing these type of developments. You know, did the offices, he did these. Right, Paul's just jumped in the back, and we've had damsel in distress. So Alexandra has just got a flat tyre, and we think she's gone round the roundabout, and there's massive potholes on the roundabout, and she says she's gone round it. We think it's slit the sidewall of the tyre, and then she's managed to get down the slip road, I think, and it's gone flat. So we're going to quickly, Paul's jumped in. I've got a jack in the boot of my car. I know there's a spare in there. It's going to be quicker for us to change the wheel than it is to get somebody out. And we'll have a look at these look at this roundabout while we're at it. Right. Tom, show the roundabout, please. Look at the size of these potholes. Absolutely enormous. So it's full of massive potholes. Look at the size of them. She's got to be off for a meeting, so she's been panicking, no doubt. Right, there you go. I hope she hasn't gone and done the one on the mud.
Oh, she has.
Oh, she has. It'll be the one on the mud, won't it? So our little jack in my car won't quite lift this one high enough. So Simon's turned up now, so Paul and I feel really insulted, don't we?
How many men does it take to change the wheel?
Yeah, how many men does it take to change her damsel in distress wheel? Yes, we're sorting your wheel out for you so you can go.
So good to have you in my life.
Okay, I'm very pleased about that. Thank you, darling. Don't need a bear hug. You'll be able to go in a moment. How deep is that? That's massive. I bet it'd be 4 inches deep. That's how deep that is, that pothole. That's 4 inches deep. That's massive. It's like third world. Cambridgeshire County Council, right outside our farm, 2 roundabouts, exactly the same condition. AJ's just hit that pothole, burst her tyre. There must be 7 like that round this one roundabout. There must be similar around the next.
Same on the next one, yeah.
Yeah. And we just drove up to Camborne, didn't we, just to turn round?
Yeah, just
and
to
it's the
find out that
same.
one. Yeah.
And that's the entrance to their HQ.
Yeah.
Anyway, can you please come and fix these potholes? So they came the other day, we think within the week, and they put a patch over this hole. But they didn't do this one right next to it. Didn't do these 2. And you turn around, Tom, and look down the road. They've done another patch and left the one beside it. Got my haircut booked in about 10 minutes, so it should start to look a bit less windswept. So looking forward to that. Couple of questions which have come through. Somebody said about machinery getting bigger and heavier. Is it actually a sustainable slippery slope? A lot of mechanisation happened really, from the year 2000 onwards, and we went from less tractors down to bigger tractors, greater efficiency, greater outputs. Certainly from my point of view, it's enabled me to farm a greater volume of area, and it's effectively enabled me to continue farming. If you go down keep going with the smaller type machinery, then actually you need more people. So there's one problem, and I would think that effectively, unless you start to go look at robotics or have 24-hour operations, then actually the issue is the cost effectiveness of the inefficiency. So, for example, today where we're all ready to go. Spraying, got 2 sprayers ready, getting the other 2, getting them hitched up as well, and also got the 2 lorries with the 3 tankers. And because it's rain, it's completely scuppered us. You actually have more people, you've got more cost stood in the yard, so there's more inefficiency that way. So for me, I think actually the bigger machinery, the wider machinery is the way forward, and actually I am looking forward to when they go from 12 perhaps to 18. And I remember the arguments when 24 metre sprayers were about, and people still at 21 and 18, and then it went to 36, and now we're talking about 48. And it's the same with the rolls. I'm at 24 and they were at 12 or 8. I look at it as progression, and I think it's a challenge for manufacturers to be able to get machinery to operate at that width, especially staying in road widths of 4 up, 3 wide. T-shirts, can I have them in white? Bit like Henry Ford. You can have them any colour as you want, as long as they're green. The gilet, yes, got the note about the gilet. Let's get all sold out on the hoodies and things first before I start introducing more stock. But yes, it has been put in the mind. And Stephen Clark asking about whether I'm always jovial. You have to ask the staff at the open day what they think. You can ask them on the quiet when they've got a beer in their hand to get to see what they say. The low loaders, the low loader for us, we did have a low loader. I've mentioned it before. It didn't personally work for us. But maybe something, if we went much further afield, we might consider again. Cousin Michael, I have seen him last week. We started to do rotations. He has been in hiding. I think while it was less going on, I think he tried to do a bit with half term, was spending time with the children last week. But I think he is going to appear this week, and we are going to do a bit on rotation for next year. We've sort of got that in a corner now. We just need to sort of dot the I's and plan next year's rotation. So I thought I'd do a bit on that, and also hoping to see Nick Blake and do a piece about the sprayers. Actually decide, should we stay at 36, should we go at 48, and actually now we've got all the prices in, make a decision. So that's something that also I was going to do this week. So holiday, haven't got the holiday booked, it's up on my desk. Alexandra's now all revved up, having to work around when she can take holiday away from her work, so it won't be for a week or two. Cousin Michael said he'll step in if there's drilling happens while I'm away. So he says that gives him a chance to be a proper farmer again. So I think he's actually quite hoping he will get to drill while I'm away. So it feels like I only go away when the drill comes out. But the open day planning, had a meeting this morning. That seems to be going relatively well, just trying to get some of these various things. So we've got the toilets booked. We're just sorting the catering out this week, just to get that finalised. And then we've got first aid and that sort of thing, that's booked now. And we're just got to get the alcohol licence, because to give you all beer, we have to have an alcohol licence, which means Tom has got to sit through 6 hours of tuition and take an exam at the end. So we're going to find out how intelligent he actually is to become basically a publican. So that's part of Tom's project when he's bored on holiday in I can't think where he's going, Centre Parks. That's it. I did go to Centre Parks once. I only stayed for a night, but. Thanks ever so much, everybody. Didn't quite make 21,000, very close. We're down to sub 100 to get there, so we are making progress. And hopefully the sprayers are going to come out again, and we are going to start getting back on the land. I can feel it's starting to warm up, even though it's a bit damp and cold today, but it is warmer than what it has been the last few weeks. Graham and Sandy gone down to Bedford. They're trying to find this missing drain. Glyn's back because he can't spray. He's getting his drill ready for peas. So we'll get that done. And then Chris has started today, so he's joined us. And Chris was with us helping us out drilling the beans last year, and he did a good job. And then Aaron starts in a week's time, so he's already brought some of his stuff up. So yeah, should have a full force of everybody here in the next 2 weeks. So that would be good. Then we can really start to crack on. We're getting some jobs done. So thanks ever so much, everybody, and wishing you well, and look forward to seeing you later in the week.